everybody, I'm Tracy. Welcome to another chapter of Audubon at Home. And this is our Powder Mill Ledges Wildlife Refuge in Smithfield. It's also our headquarters. This Audubon at Home is going to take a look at life under a log. So come along with me as we explore the wealth of creatures that are part of the understory of the forest. Come along with me, everybody. I just want to make sure you all remember what poison ivy looks like, because to be exploring safely, we want to make sure that we don't touch any poison ivy. Poison ivy, as you can see here, looks like this. It has 3 leaves. When it first comes up, it might be a little reddish green, and then it just is all green, and it's always in leaves of 3. So again, you might remember from past videos, 1, 2, 3, let it be, because it's poison ivy. So we don't touch it. We don't want our pants or our shoes to rub up against it. It likes the edge of a path. So just be careful as you're walking along in the forest that you're not rubbing up against poison ivy. So we have a great scavenger hunt where you can look up and try to identify some of these animals that are living under a log. You can also come to any of our wildlife refuges, or you can do this at home or in your neighborhood. So be sure to check out this wonderful scavenger hunt we created. I found some logs on the ground that I'd like to explore, but before I do anything, I'm going to check this area for poison ivy. I don't see any poison ivy in this area. That's good. So it's safe for me now to step in here a little bit and start exploring. So I'm going to lift this log up, and I'm being very careful not to tromp on this beautiful Canada Mayflower, which is a spring wildflower that's coming up. And so I don't want to hurt or do any harm to any of the plants and animals as I'm exploring. And sometimes it's hard. You can't completely not step on some things. I'm just doing the best I can. I found 2 spots where there's nothing under my feet. This is a roof to where the homes of many different little creatures live. So we always want to make sure we're gentle when we turn a log or a rock over, and we put it back the way we found it. And right away I see a little animal. I want to be very careful when I pick it up not to squish it. You're a lot stronger and bigger, and notice how gentle I'm being. Now I do have a container I could put this little animal in so I could look at it easily before putting it back in its home. This is called a sow bug, and that is going to be on the sheet, the scavenger hunt sheet that we made for you, and you can check that off. This is one of the creatures that is a decomposer. So this is a sign of some of the little animals that live inside trees, especially if the trees already have some holes in them. And this is still a living tree. It's not a dead tree and it's not a log. But here you can see there's some acorn left over. Somebody was eating here. Who do you think likes to eat acorns? Yeah, that's right. Squirrels, chipmunks, mice, little small animals. And this is what we call a little midden area, M-I-D-D-E-N. It's a clue where they were eating, where they like to sit and eat, or maybe some of this might be from some ants, carpenter ants. Some of these big long holes like that could be signs of carpenter ants that are inside the tree, and they're sort of eating away at some of the wood. Now, as you're hiking along, you're looking at everything you see. even a big tree that's fallen down from maybe a big storm, you can see the roots coming up. And there's lots of little holes for little animals to live. Who might want to sleep in that hole for the night? Could be a fox. Yep, could be maybe a raccoon or skunk. And so these are little hideaways for lots of animals. Carpenter ants have left some of these long, straight openings here. This is all signs. This happened under the bark of the tree. So this log is very old. It's been here for a while. And so carpenter ants were leaving these little holes as they were chewing away at the wood. And then there's some other type of animals. These are called bark beetles. And bark beetles also live inside the wood under the bark. They lay their eggs and their babies come out and they eat the wood, and you can see where they were eating and they were living. There's some over there. So there's a couple of different clues of animals living in the log, not just underneath the log. Bark beetles and carpenter ants. Oh, this is again a nice little hole in the bottom of the tree. I see signs of insects that are eating away the wood, like carpenter ants. And this is from this log. I want you to see the little holes that are horizontal. That means they go in this direction, that carpenter ants leave. This is all done by carpenter ants eating at this log. And this is what their evidence that they're there looks like. It's these long sideways openings are carpenter ants. And there's one right there. So there's lots of carpenter ants eating away. What do you think is going to happen to this log as it keeps getting broken down? Well, if you said that it's going to turn into soil sometime in the future, you're absolutely right. So these ants and the beetles and the sow bugs, they're all doing a really important job. They're breaking down this material, this plant, woody tree material from the log, from the trees, from any plants, and that's all going into the soil. And that's helping the soil to have lots of minerals. Maybe mom and dad tell you to eat certain foods so you get lots of minerals and vitamins. Well, plants need that in the soil, and animals that live in the soil need that as well to be healthy and to grow. So all this material, now that this is a log, this is going to go back into the soil. It's not being wasted. It's being decomposed. And that's what decomposers do. They recycle material like plants and bring it back into the soil for plants and animals to grow. And that's a good thing. So I have found a rock. Do you think that some of those little animals can also live under rocks as well as logs? Sure. Again, you just want to be safe. Make sure you're not going to hurt your hands or your fingers. And when you lift it up, you can lift it up okay. And here's some smaller ants, a little ant colony. Here's some ant eggs, and you can see they're very scared right now that somebody, me, might try to eat their eggs, their babies. So they're carrying them off to a safe place. So I don't want to stress them out too much longer. I'm going to put this rock back so that they know they're okay. So this log has been around for years, and I remember when the bark was much harder and covering this log, and this old tree, this stump is what's left from where this tree was once in the ground, and you can really see it turning to soil. This is pretty soft, and again, this is all from carpenter ants, termites, the beetles that were under the bark, and also a lot of mushrooms that are breaking this down, and it's really very quickly becoming soil. You can see that happening to what's left of the stump. You can see all the signs of carpenter ants as well inside here, and termites as well. That termites leave a lot of what is called residue, just lots of bits and pieces of bark from the tree. So I found a millipede, and this millipede was curled up to protect its soft underbelly, and it's got lots of little legs. Now milli means 1,000, but that's kind of an exaggeration. That's not really how many legs they have, but they can get up to, say, a little millipede this size might have 50 little legs underneath it. So millipedes and centipedes sometimes get confused. Centipedes, they tend to be flatter, not as round, and their legs are more off to the side, and they don't have as many legs as millipedes like this one. They also eat different things. So this millipede is another decomposer. This is another little animal that's eating the leaves and maybe some of the bark or some of the plant that is dead. It's already just left over and lying on the ground. And they're part of the cleanup crew, because in the forest, if we didn't have these decomposers, you probably have heard of worms as decomposers, but there's other little animals that are helping to break down all the dead plant material that falls to the ground and clean that up so it doesn't pile up. We'd be over our heads in leaves and pine needles if it wasn't for these little decomposers. And notice how I'm just letting him walk along very calmly, and he's okay with that. And I'm being very careful so I don't drop him. But you could also put him inside one of those little critter carriers. If you're not sure, you can hold on to him. And I don't know if you can see, he's got little antenna. His head is right up front here where the little antenna are. And oh, he's giving you a good shot of his legs. I don't know if you saw that underneath. And they're paired, so there's two of them underneath that are opposite each other. So I'm going to put him back. I'll let him crawl under, or her, or it. I hope you enjoyed seeing and discovering what's happening under a log, in the forest. And go and print out that scavenger hunt sheet and go exploring in some woods, maybe an Audubon refuge in your backyard, and see what you can find. It's fascinating. There's so much happening just right at our feet. Hope you had fun.